Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm a dietitian who's living and working in Oregon. I work at a hospital and I see patients who are in the hospital, and I see patients as outpatients, patients who get referred to me, who come to me for medical nutrition therapy. The majority of my patients are here for weight loss and prediabetes or diabetes. One of the things that I always want to offer my patients is a really good understanding of digestion and absorption so that they can understand why I'm making the recommendations that I'm making for them to change. So several of my patients have been asking me to make a video, something that can help keep them on track and have understanding of what this is, because it's not the easiest concept to get. So let's talk about it here for a minute, okay? So we have 3 macronutrients. Those are 3 things that we need in abundance: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Now, your body uses protein to build everything, okay? So we can use protein for some energy, but if it has carbohydrates on board, it's going to use those first because your body is very good at using carbohydrates for energy. So let's talk about that. When you're eating carbohydrates, you start making some saliva in your mouth, right? A little bit, it starts getting broken down a little bit. Where all the action is really in your intestines. And when you eat carbohydrates, your pancreas makes insulin. Insulin's job is to transport energy from the food that you eat into the cell to get used for energy. However, as we age, if we're skipping meals, eating too many carbs, eating high carbs, high fat, taking a carb coma, all of those things tend to give us insulin resistance. What is insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is the inability of insulin to bind to the cell to get that energy in there. So what happens when you have insulin resistance is when you eat carbohydrates and insulin can't get in there, the pancreas overcompensates and starts making extra. The idea is to flood the channel, to get that insulin out there, to get that food into the cell. But that's not the best thing to happen because 1, the pancreas is working harder, but 2, insulin does one of 2 things. It is a storage or transport hormone, okay? So what if it's not transporting, guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna create storage. And guess where it creates storage? Usually everybody gets this one, right? Belly. How do we know if we have insulin resistance? If we have significant belly fat, we have insulin resistance. And that's like the 5-pound creep a year where people are like, oh, I just keep gaining 5 pounds every year. That's insulin resistance, okay? But let's also talk about fat. I know fat has been making a big comeback. I don't know if you've heard, but I know that the 1977 dietary guidelines what we eat is based on said that fat and cholesterol was the issue instead of sugar. And now 45 years later, obesity and diabetes are pandemic. So let's talk about fat. This nice little diagram here. Here's our protein, okay? It's getting broken down, it's gonna get used. I want you to notice one thing here. This is carbohydrates. The more complicated the carbohydrate, basically the harder your body has to work to break something down, the better controlled your blood sugars are. So that is the difference between like brown rice versus white rice. That brown rice has fiber. That fiber is really important for managing your blood sugars. It doesn't let the blood sugars get too high, which means that it's not going to tax the pancreas as much, right? One of the ways that I approach this idea is thinking, okay, so if we're trying to lose weight, if we're trying to manage our blood sugars, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to control how much insulin the pancreas is making. We do not want the pancreas working harder than it has to, right? You don't. It makes all of your enzymes for your food. If your pancreas isn't working well, that is not a good day. You'll be having nausea, vomiting, cyclical. I've seen patients who can't even drink water without horrible, horrible pain. It's not a good way to go. We want to preserve the pancreas as much as possible, okay? Very, very important. So if you're having carbohydrates that also have protein, nuts, beans, I love nuts and beans, of course. I'm trying to think of other examples, but you get the idea that basically if it's more complicated, if your body has to work harder to break it down, that's a good thing, okay? Things that are simple starches like white rice, white bread that has had the fiber removed, that makes your blood sugars really high, and that makes a lot of insulin. And we don't want extra insulin if we have insulin resistance, because it's gonna what? It's going to build belly fat. We don't want that. But let's talk about fat. So as you can see, here's protein, here's carbs. And down here, this is actually a diagram for short bowel syndrome, but this has all the little things that I want on it. So fat is the last thing that gets absorbed. It's what stays with us, and it's what gives us our satiety at a meal. When you don't get enough fat, I like to call that the Chinese food problem. You're hungry an hour later. Think about that, okay? That fat really satisfies you. And so we've all been told to eat low fat, non-fat, low fat, non-fat. If you're eating low fat, non-fat everything, you're gonna be hungry. And what are you gonna be hungry for? Carbs. That's your easy solution, right? Plus the fact that sugar is very addictive. So you're gonna be craving carbs. If you have insulin resistance, belly fat, diabetes, obesity, you have been brainwashed to be fat starved. It took me a little while to get that. I had patients that I was recommending low fat, non-fat. I used to tell them, if your protein is good, eat the healthy fats, but keep your fats lower, reduced saturated fat, except for the healthy saturated fats like avocado and those in fish. And I had a woman, and they were eating, and I recommended eating more often, because that's always a given. You really want your metabolism to be working for you, and that's one of the reasons for eating breakfast, but that's a different video. I had a woman come back, and it wasn't just one, it was like 3 different patients who came to me and said, man, I just ate and I'm hungry. I ate 20 minutes ago and my stomach is rumbling. Okay, well, first of all, your stomach can lie to you. That ghrelin hormone is what I call it, ghrelin. That's what makes your tummy growl. That can happen when your stomach isn't even empty of food. It can lie. It happens because we're not getting enough fat. I've heard a doctor refer to it as air hunger. That's a good way to put it. It's like that vacant feeling in your stomach where you feel like, I want something, but I don't know what it is. We need fat. We need fat for our satisfaction. So right now we're in a weird place when it comes to fat. Every professional association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the Diabetes Association, Medical Boards, Heart Association, they all tell you to still eat low fat, non-fat. Well, you're gonna be hungry and you're gonna be craving carbs. So my little incendiary statement is, if you're craving carbs, you need more fat, okay? So am I recommending any fat? Of course not. We want our healthy fats. And we're in a weird place, like even how much do we recommend of the healthy fats? Well, healthy fats are not gonna make you gain weight. So I've been using that for the last few years and just really recommending that every time you eat, you have healthy fat. What does that look like? What are healthy fats? Okay, avocados, nuts, and yes, all nuts, including macadamia nuts. I was very pleasantly surprised when I really started looking at all these different fats, how many carbs, things like that. Macadamia nuts are the highest in fat, but they're also the highest in the healthy monounsaturated fat. So they're okay, nuts are okay. Almonds, pecans, hazelnuts, walnuts, all these are fantastic. Nuts are a great choice. Avocado, anytime. I don't care. It's not going to make you gain weight. An entire cup of avocado has 22 grams of yummy fat, 1 gram of sugar and 10 grams of fiber. It is my highest recommendation for diabetic patients or anybody working on their weight, blood sugars. Have avocado about an hour before bed, and I don't care if you eat the whole avocado, it's not going to make you gain weight, but it's going to be really good for you. Plus, that fat satisfies you. It really does help you sleep better. And then their morning blood sugars are gorgeous because instead of the body using stored carbohydrate energy, it's going to use that fat first. So therefore, their blood sugars in the morning look really good. The other thing I would just want to add on here, so this is the biggest part that I've been trying to tell people, is all about MCT oil. So when I heard about keto diet and I did my own research trying to figure out, well, gosh, okay, that makes sense. Well, I know about MCT oil because I learned about it in school. MCT oil stands for medium chain triglycerides. They are, and it's 100% saturated fat, okay? It's a healthy fat. It is liquid at room temperature. I was taught saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Not true. I was taught lots of things, right? I mean, it's the fat that we want to watch in donuts, pizza, French fries, potato chips. Those are the type of fats. Carbohydrates that have been fried, those are the ones we don't want those, okay? We want the healthy fats. We want to fill up on fat. We want to get adequate fat at our meals and our snacks so that we're not craving carbs, okay? Now here's the deal with MCT oil. This stuff is amazing. I cannot even believe all the amazingness about it, okay? So I started recommending that my patients use MCT oil for making a keto coffee instead of just plain coconut oil. Coconut oil is a great oil. We love it. It is 62 to 65% of it is made up of medium chain triglycerides. And by the way, so does real butter. Kerrygold. There you go. So I started recommending it for my patients to have in their coffee. Easy way to mix that up, right? You throw this into your coffee. You have to blend it. Oil and water do not mix. You will have a thing of oil on top. It will not be tasty. But when you blend it in the blender, it actually becomes creamy like a latte, and it's really delicious. So I was recommending it for a long time, really low carb coffee. I've been recommending the Silk Protein Nut Milk, the original one that is higher fat, but it also has protein, and that's an important thing to be getting. So, and it's like 1 cup is 2 grams of sugar, 10 grams of protein, and 8 grams of fat. It's really tasty. But I also used it because I liked it for the benefits of my brain. So another thing that this is really important when it comes to fat, we need fat in our brain. So every time when we're thinking, and have you ever seen these animations, or pictures you see of neurons, and there's an electrical signal traveling, right? That is traveling on a thin layer of fat. That's called your myelin sheath. Parkinson's disease is the destruction of the myelin sheath. Alzheimer's, epilepsy, autism, dementia, all of these things are really benefited with more healthy fat. Plus, healthy fat is also anti-inflammatory. So when you're getting adequate fat, those signals can travel a lot easier. It improves cognition. It improves memory. It can help with so many different things. It's insane. I'm going to be reading you a thing. The more research I've done, the more I've been blown away. And every time I start talking to somebody about this, somebody comes up to me and says, wait, what was that you were just talking about? How can I get that? So I'm going to go finish this little story. So I was doing the MCT oil in my coffee for the brain effects. I do not want to lose weight. I wanted to use it for that, right? I want to have a sharp brain. I don't want to get Alzheimer's. I also take turmeric religiously. I want my brain to work as well as it can for as long as it can, right? But I noticed, I still was losing weight. So I started only having it I started buying the Silk Protein nut milk in chocolate, and then also having it with like potatoes so that I wouldn't be going into starvation mode, because that's the whole principle of the keto is you're high fat, your body makes ketones, and your brain can use ketones or glucose, okay? And those ketones have benefits, a lot of benefits. The thing about MCT oil, it is processed by the liver and it doesn't go into the bloodstream. So because of that, it's thermogenic. It actually heats up your body and you always lose weight. I knew that it was very effective for busting belly fat. Oh no, it also reduces LDL cholesterol. It increases HDL cholesterol. It can help prevent non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It basically improves the liver. And because it's taken up by the liver, it helps the pancreas, because the pancreas, who makes all of our enzymes for breaking food down, it bypasses it completely. That's amazing. Well, guess what? It also helps with insulin resistance, right? We know that belly fat, but this is it really helps with when you eat carbs, how they're metabolized completely. It's amazing. The other things that it does is it is so good for your GI tract. It is antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it can keep C. diff, E. coli, help the beneficial bacteria, decrease the unbeneficial ones. Oh my gosh, chyme leaks, short bowel syndrome, people who don't absorb fat well, this is completely metabolized differently. I do not recommend taking it towards the end of the day, like at 4 o'clock for me. If I do it at 4 o'clock, I'll be not hungry until 11 o'clock, because fat fills you up, okay? It takes away your appetite. It shuts up your cravings for carbs. So if you're craving carbs, you need more fat, okay? So I made a little list here of the benefits that it does. I've just been amazed by it. I know that they're doing a lot of cancer research on it. I've been researching the heck out of it, and these are just a few of the studies that I've been saving. I also didn't know how much to recommend for people. Luckily, I found a nice little Stanford gastroenterology paper 2 years ago who had recommended this one as well. And even now I like this even better, because it just has the capric and the capricic acids. Fantastic. And it always makes you lose weight. Helps control your blood sugars. That's huge, huge. But also the brain benefits is amazing. They're doing research with Alzheimer's, dementia, and of course Parkinson's. These are huge things, guys. So it burns fat, speeds up your metabolism, improves brain function, cognition, improving memory, lowering the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. It reduces your appetite, fills you up. You get this lovely energy surge. It feels great, and it's not jittery like caffeine. You just feel really good. I feel like it raises your vibration for sure. So increasing that satiety and that fullness to avoid the sugar cravings, that's a big one. Antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, protects against unhealthy bacteria such as C. diff and E. coli. It improves your gut health, and it improves gut permeability, and it actually improves the mitochondrial function. Insane. It improves insulin resistance, helps break down carbs, boosts your energy, boosts your mood, it stabilizes hormones, right? So it cleans up the liver, prevents non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, I already said that. Balancing your hormones, already said that too, and reducing inflammation. So the way I've been recommending it, I was recommending it for a while with just the keto coffee and then using it sporadically here and there, but the more research that I did, these studies aren't giving it to them alone. They're giving it to them with carbohydrates, and they still had all these benefits. And it can cause some GI upset, especially if we haven't been eating adequate fruits and vegetables, right? We need that fiber. Your intestines are a muscle. The only way you can work them out really is by having a diet that's higher in good fiber. Okay, that's important. I'll do one later on diverticulitis and IBS and digestive enzymes and probiotics and all that. I'll do another video. But now I'm not worried about people having it with the carbs. I can go ahead and go, okay, well, maybe having, 2 to 3 tablespoons, working your way up to 2 to 3 tablespoons in the morning and at lunch, not really exceeding 7 tablespoons in the day. That's what the Stanford Gastroenterology had recommended. And I do about 6 tablespoons a day. At first, when you first start having it, your tummy's not used to it. You could have some cramping, not feel so great. So go ahead and have it with carbs. The reason I recommend the Nature's Way one is because it really only has the capric and the caprylic, which are medium chain fatty acids. The other ones sometimes can have like 7% other filler oils. Look for that. I don't recommend the palm oil. I recommend 100% organic from coconuts, okay? Personally, I'm switched